From Alex Wolff's disturbing role in Hereditary to Dakota Johnson needing therapy after filming for Suspiria, many actors have been in challenging roles that left them traumatized. For instance, Sophie Turner's role as Sansa Stark in Game of Thrones was a tough role to play. Let's not forget the fact that she was only 15 when the show premiered. Being exposed to such a storyline at that age? Not sure if that's a great idea, considering her character goes through psychological and Turner mentioned how she hasn't fully comprehended the depths of some scenes, even now. In fact, she revealed that she would create coping mechanisms just to deal with the heavy storyline, which would include either singing or dancing in between takes to take her mind off of the story. Sophie believes that she'll definitely exhibit some symptoms of trauma down the road, but at least she's moved on to brighter roles now. Good for you, Soph! The next actor on the list has had her fair share of challenging roles too. I'm talking about Kate Winslet's role as Hannah in The Reader, for which she was rewarded big time as she took home the Academy Award for Best Actress. But even an Oscar can't make up for her traumatizing experience of playing the role of a former camp worker. In fact, Winslet mentioned how the feeling was similar to being a car crash victim and went on to explain how she was still coming to terms nearly a decade on from the release of the film. She felt like she couldn't discuss how she felt and how the whole thing was truly overwhelming, making her feel like she was stuck in a trance. But it's not just the psychological part of playing tough roles that leave actors disturbed. Sometimes the preparation for a role can be damaging enough, as you can see with Anne Hathaway and her role as Fantine in Les Miserables, which remains one of the best films of recent times. But Hathaway had to go all out to make the film as good as it was. She explained that it was important to her to be obsessive about the role, so she went along and actually lost 25 pounds to portray a dying prostitute. Not to mention filming some traumatic scenes where she had her hair shorn and even her teeth yanked by a sailor. But after a few weeks, Hathaway did feel like herself again. For what it's worth, I'm sure everyone who saw Les Miserables was left awestruck because it's truly a masterpiece. Talking about masterpieces, how good was Hereditary? Unfortunately, Alex Wolff didn't enjoy filming it, and for good reason too. That car window scene left audiences around the world traumatized, and there's a whole support group for people on Facebook who couldn't get through that film. So I definitely understand why Wolff went through PTSD symptoms while making the movie. The brilliant young actor also pointed out how he had trouble sleeping and found it really hard to talk about it because every time he'd discuss it, all the disturbing would come back in a flood. In fact, he said it was impossible to go through the making of Hereditary and not have some sort of PTSD. And I don't think anyone disagrees. Watching that film is a traumatizing experience, let alone filming it. I'd say it's hardly surprising that the next actor on the list also had a terrible time filming a supernatural horror, as Suspiria made it really hard for Dakota Johnson to move on. Some actors really put their heart in their roles, and Dakota's one of them for sure. She's discussed on many occasions how she feels the emotions of others, especially her characters, and said that she's got no shame in admitting that she's a porous person who absorbs a lot of feelings. It's a great advantage to have as an actor, but not if you're filming a horror film, especially one like Suspiria. Johnson said that the film her up so much that she actually needed therapy afterwards. And it was mostly because working with dark subject matter tends to stay with you. I'm glad she didn't fight this battle on her own and has since moved on. But many actors don't really have exit plans after filming ends, and that can be very dangerous, something that Michael B. Jordan definitely knows. And once again, it's totally understandable. Don't we all get sucked into the vibe of a film after only watching it? So no wonder it's even harder for the actors who have put so much energy into their characters. With all that effort, sometimes it can be hard to detach yourself from that character. And it's worse for someone like Michael B. Jordan, who doesn't believe in taking shortcuts. He revealed how he found it really hard to readjust to his actual life because he was so immersed into his character after Black Panther. In fact, he shut out his friends and family and shut out love too. But like Dakota, Jordan eventually turned towards therapy, and he believes that talking about his experience and feelings helped him out. Maybe the film budgets should include therapy. I'm sure they can afford it, and it'll only help in the long run because acting certainly isn't an easy job. Plus, most actors take their job really seriously, which makes for great films, yes, but it also takes a huge mental toll on the actors, like The Pianist did for Adrien Brody. While he deserves all the praise for that fantastic portrayal of the struggles during the Holocaust, Brody actually went one step further, and after learning the piano, he sold all his belongings and starved himself too. Some would say it was a bit too excessive, but look at the art piece that The Pianist ended up becoming. It swept the Oscars back in 2003, with Brody deservingly winning the award for Best Actor. But there's nothing that can make up for how challenging and traumatizing his preparation for the role was. Brody believes he experienced the desperation that comes with hunger, and even feared at times during filming that he may not be the same person once he was done with the project. However, Brody managed to settle back into his usual routine, but was still surprised at how far that experience had taken him. Just like Natalie Portman, who also failed to realize how easy it is to get wrapped up in a role when she starred in Black Swan. First things first, how good was that movie? And as good as Portman was throughout the film, she later gave an insight into how much time it had taken her to return to her normal life. It seems that even actors don't know the extent of damage these challenging roles can cause them, and she even thought at one point how she could literally die because of the intense training, which included 16-hour workdays and starvation. So, if you are planning on becoming an actor anytime soon, maybe you can reconsider now, because imagine not being able to differentiate between what's real and what was acting. Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield struggled with that while filming for Judas and the Black Messiah. He explained how the film took a huge mental toll on his health, with times when he found it extremely hard to differentiate between acting and reality, particularly in one scene when his character poisons Daniel Kaluuya's Fred Hampton. Stanfield also said that he felt stressed out after shooting and would have panic attacks as well, and he believes that he's learned his lesson and will definitely have a therapist if he goes down a similar route of taking on a challenging role. Good idea, Lakeith. Hopefully, other actors will follow suit. That's all I have on actors who were traumatized from filming.